So Game Week 6 is nearly here, so whether you're on Wildcard or whether you just need some transfer tips, this video should have everything you need. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. With that being said, let's get straight into the video. Okay then, so let's start with the players that I think we should be transferring in this week. To start off, obviously Erling Haaland has to be at the top of our list, whether you're on Wildcard or whether you're using your free transfers to do this. And providing he's fit, as we've had news from Pep Guardiola that he's carrying a little bit of a niggle with his back. But reading into his words a little bit, I feel like he will be fine. I said in my previous video I was probably about 85% sure, but let's just get it all confirmed in that presser on Friday, and then we can go from there. But as it stands, I still think he's very much on the radar and he should be our number one transfer in, especially if we're looking to shift from Salah to him. Also, you've got to look at those fixtures as well. Burnley, Brentford and Everton to target, of course. Next up front, we've got Viktor Gyökeres. Now, I think it's a week early to jump on him. You don't need him for Newcastle away, but especially if we're on wildcard and we're considering, do we want him going forward? And now's the time on your wildcard to get him in. So that's why I think it's worth going a week early on him. And then especially if you're looking at dropping somebody like an Ollie Watkins, he's almost a straight transfer. Obviously with Watkins' price decrease, that changes a little bit, but he's just about a straight transfer out. So then looking at those fixtures as well, West Ham at home, Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home and Burnley away. It's a really nice run coming up for Arsenal, so it'd be good to jump on him early. And you never know, we could get a nice little return against Newcastle, because I feel Arsenal are due a win there, even though they've been a little bit of a bogey team in the last couple of games at St James's for them. Next up, the midfield, and Iliman Ndiaye would be my top pick at the moment. In my last video I went over this, and he is definitely the standout option of the Everton midfielders, a much better option than Grealish. As you can see, they've got Man City coming up in a few weeks, and Grealish will not be able to play against his parent club. But also with Iliman Ndiaye, you have that potential for DEFCON points. The last two games, he is an attacking winger, but he's returned DEFCON points in the last two games, and that's a nice little bonus if you can get somebody like him with his attacking threat, potentially on penalties, but also picking up DEFCON points in maybe 2 out of 5 games. It's a nice added little bonus. So he's a standout option for me, especially when you consider they've got West Ham at home this weekend. They're at home to Crystal Palace, not the easiest fixture, but they are at home to Crystal Palace. Manchester City away, obviously not ideal, but then Tottenham, that's at home, and then Sunderland away. I'm actually quite a big fan of those fixtures, as long as you can probably find a way to bench him in 3 weeks' time. But also, I do think he could get those DEFCON points in Manchester against Manchester City, so don't rule that out either. Next up is a little bit of a punt on this one. I was very tempted to put Bruno Fernandes in this slot, but I thought I would stick my neck out on the line and go Phil Foden. Now, as I speak, he's scored in the League Cup fixture just now that they are playing. Now, the reason I do like him, say Erling Haaland is a doubt, he doesn't play at the weekend, it's just another reason for Foden's minutes to go up. We don't like jumping in on pet roulette too much, but with Marmoush out, Ryan Cherky, and then potentially Haaland, you could end up seeing Phil Foden being pretty much the focal point of that attack against Burnley at home. Obviously, we're going to be targeting these fixtures as well with Phil Foden, with Burnley at home, Brentford and Everton, like I said, with Haaland. And it's a bit inflated, but he can hit DEFCON as well. He has done it in a game this season, but obviously it was a bit of a disjointed start for him with him not starting and playing that many minutes. But he is averaging DEFCON points per 90 of 12.56, or DEFCON contributions. So I think he could be well worth a punt, and he's looking like he's getting back on form. He's looking really good. Then finally, in the defence, we're going to look at Gabriel. I think he's a very useful defender to be bringing in. Like I said, Arsenal, the best defence in the league pretty much. And they have got that great fixture run after Newcastle. And I think we should be jumping on that with the most secure option. I do rate him above Calafiori and Timber just because of the minutes risks on those wings, or left back and right back. They've obviously got the options to rotate Timber, Calafiori with Ben White and Miles Lewis-Skelly. Gabriel gives you that security of minutes, and you know, he can pop up with goals from corners. He hasn't done so yet this season, but I'm sure they're coming, and I'm sure they're just around the corner. So have faith in Gabriel, and I would put my trust in him in the Arsenal defence going forward. Then finally, I wanted to put Marco Senesi in here. I think there's a big shift in FPL this season. We all know DEFCON is turning out to be king, so we're going to need to look at these sort of centre-backs that are going to keep clean sheets, but also they're going to get DEFCON points consistently. And apart from somebody like Tarkowski, there's nobody more consistent at the moment at getting DEFCON points than Marco Senesi. But also on top of that, the Bournemouth defence looks really, really impressive. If I go into Senesi's profile here, and you look at those last 4 games in particular, he goes 9 points, 14 points, a 3-pointer against Brighton, but then a 9-pointer against Newcastle as well. So there's 3 clean sheets in 5 games there for Marco Senesi. So DEFCON and clean sheet potential is just an absolute game breaker at the moment. So they would be my 2 defenders to pick going forward. Okay, players to hold then, and I want to start off with João Pedro. I just need to reiterate with this one. It was tough to find some players to hold, but I want to reiterate this one after a very strange game between Chelsea and Manchester United. He obviously blanked in that, but it was a very tough game for him to return in, with Sanchez getting his red card so early in the game and putting Chelsea at a distinct disadvantage. But going forward, even with some debatably difficult fixtures for Chelsea, with Brighton away and then Brighton at home, Liverpool at home, Nottingham Forest away, I think João Pedro has shown enough that he is really still part of that meta strike force. And if you have him complemented with Gyökeres and Erling Haaland, that's going to be my wildcard attack more than likely. It's probably, I can't see a better strike force to go for at the moment, especially when you could consider budget in that also. But another player I would like to mention in terms of holding is Alexander Isak. Now, this is a bit of an odd one. Some of you, or a lot of you, may not have him in your team, but a lot of people did bring him in when he made his debut for Liverpool. And unsurprisingly, he didn't play the next game, or didn't start the next game away at Burnley. But going forward now, you've got Ekitike, who will be suspended for the next game because of his silly red card. So for me, Isak has to start, and his minutes will look pretty good, I think, against Crystal Palace this weekend. And then that's another game where he's gained fitness, and his likelihood of starting these sort of games will start to increase. So certainly a good hold for this weekend, and then going forward, things could just get brighter and brighter, and Isak could perform in that game this weekend and start to sort of cement his place as that starting number 9 for Liverpool. Then in the midfield, I want to go with Bryan Mbeumo. He's on that first page of transferred out players on the FPL website at the moment, but I get the disappointment. He probably hasn't returned like people would have hoped. whether that's down to him, the transfer, or just the way that Manchester United have been playing. But they're back with a win under their belt. And then they've got 2 fixtures now in Brentford away and Sunderland at home, which do seem very promising for them. And you would think they can get results from that. And Brian Mbeumo, considering his sort of lack of output, his XG and XA isn't that bad with 0.39 and 0.27. I feel like goals are just around the corner, returns are just around the corner for Brian Mbeumo. So I would certainly be having a little bit of faith of him in him going into those next 2 fixtures, most definitely. And then look to reassess after that. Then we got Tierney Reinders. Sort of a reiteration on this one because everybody jumped on the hype on the bandwagon and then soon jumped off when he started to blank in a few games. But he showed exactly what he can do against Arsenal with that assist for Erling Haaland. So with those, I just wanted to reiterate really, with those Man City fixtures coming up, you're going to want to double, maybe triple up on them. So if you have Haaland and then Reinders, maybe you sprinkle Phil Foden in there, like I mentioned before. And I think you've got a good recipe there for some good points. And I think his minutes look pretty secure as well. He's playing 90 in just about every game he plays. In the defence then, Marc Cucurella. I've got him on the players to hold, but I've transferred him out because I'm on a wild card. He's not somebody I would be prioritising to transfer out. It's just so I could get hold of certain players like Virgil van Dijk and Gabriel that I've got rid of Marc Cucurella. But his fixtures, they're good enough for you to trust him in. You've got Brighton away, which is his former club. He'll be keen to do well, I'm sure. And, there's good clean sheet potential there. Liverpool come to Stamford Bridge then. That will be difficult, I'm sure. But we know with Marc Cucurella, his attacking threat's there, and his attacking numbers aren't bad, especially his expected assists at 0.13, and that's really not too bad for a defender. Sorry. So certainly somebody, unless you're on wildcard, I'd look to hold and just hope he just doesn't get benched like he did a couple of weeks ago out of the blue. Lastly, Virgil van Dijk is somebody I'm mentioning to hold because even though Liverpool's fixtures aren't ideal, and you do want somebody like a Gabriel, really, I think, for the next 5 games. I still think Virgil van Dijk and Liverpool can keep clean sheets in just about any game, just like Arsenal. So Crystal Palace will be a tough game, but they could keep a clean sheet against them easily. Chelsea, Manchester United, also very difficult games. But you've also got to look at the way Liverpool are conceding chances. And because of the way they are conceding chances, you've seen Virgil van Dijk hit DEFCON in just about every game he's played so far. If I can just have a quick look here and just confirm for you that he's hit it in every game. 3 out of 5 games. So he's hit DEFCON in 3 out of 5 games. And that's not bad for a team that's expected to have a lot of the ball and with the clean sheet potential. It's certainly better than Gabriel's DEFCON contributions. So for me, Virgil van Dijk would be a nice little hold because even if they do wipe that clean sheet from Liverpool, any of these teams, he's just about guaranteed DEFCON, I think, especially the way, like I say, Liverpool are conceding chances. Let's move on to the sells. So the sells then, and Ollie Watkins is top of the list for me on this one. I've just about run out of patience with this guy. I thought maybe Sunderland may have been the fixture that he could have got off the mark. Villa certainly did get off the mark, but it wasn't Ollie Watkins who was involved in that move. So for me, even with Fulham at home, Burnley at home next, and obviously 100% if you're on wildcard he goes, but even if he's not, I think you should be looking at something like upgrading him to Haaland if possible with that Salah transfer out. Or, like I said, go to Victor Gyökeres. But Watkins, if you want 2 points consistently every week from him, keep him. But the patience for me is just run thin. Just get rid of him now. even with those fixtures coming up, because it certainly does turn in 3 fixtures time, with Tottenham away, Manchester City at home and Liverpool away. So you're going to be wanting to jump off your Villa assets around that time anyway. And then next up is a bit more controversial in Chris Wood. Now, he does have Sunderland at home, which is a very nice fixture for him. But I'm just looking again after that, and if you're on that wild card, you're going to be wanting to jump off him, because he has Newcastle away, he has Chelsea at home, then Bournemouth and Manchester United. They're not ideal fixtures, and I'm not sure, I'm yet to be convinced that Ange Postecoglou can get the best out of Chris Wood in the same way that Nuno did. We know Chris Wood can be a very consistent striker, but for me it doesn't quite look like it's completely gelled for him yet, and the way that now Nottingham Forest are playing, there's been a considerable drop off this season from last. That's my justification for him, really. I completely understand if you would want to keep him for that Sunderland game, but like I said, I wanted to put something a bit more edgy, a bit more risky, and you're only going to be wanting Chris Wood for that one game anyway. Is it really worth it, especially on Wildcard? Then we're moving on to the midfield. Florian Wirtz, another one that we've completely run out of patience with, I'm sure. He's actually down to 8.2 million as well. In a few weeks' time, you bed in a bit more. It could be a couple of months' time. And he may represent really good value with the way his price has decreased to 8.2 and maybe lower in the future. But for now, I think, again, Liverpool's fixtures aren't fantastic. 8.2 million is a lot of money to have tied up in an asset that isn't performing, when you can jump to somebody like Phil Foden for 3 fantastic fixtures. For me, that's a no-brainer, I think. On top of that, then, you've got Morgan Rogers. When we talk about running out of patience, certainly even worse than Ollie Watkins, especially when you look at Morgan Rogers' numbers. With 0.04 XG, a 0.1 expected assists, he has been non-existent for Aston Villa. And any of you that are still holding on to him, what are you doing? Obviously, maybe other priority transfers in your team, but 100% Morgan Rogers has to go now. It doesn't look the same player this season at all. Finally, the defence, and Reinildo, obviously with his suspension, he's going to be out for 3 games now. You can get him to sit on your bench, but like I said, if we've got spare transfers, if we've got wildcard, we can get rid of him. It's a shame because Sunderland have pretty nice fixtures coming up. Nottingham Forest away, Manchester United away aren't ideal, but then you've got Wolves at home, Chelsea away, but Everton at home as well. And he's just ticking along quite nicely. But when we talk about 4 million midfielders, Joe Rodon is my favourite, especially how good that Leeds defence can look at times. Won't always be the case, but they do look really good. So now is a good jumping off point if you're wildcarding. You need to get rid of that. That £4 million midfielder in Reinildo. Lastly, then, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, pretty much an ever-present in this slot in my videos. Keeps plummeting in price. He's now injured. Forget the fact that he's now a huge rotation risk. Not even that, completely out of favour at West Ham with Kyle Walker-Peters at right back, with them playing 4 at the back now. Struggling to keep clean sheets, to be fair. And no sign of him returning anytime soon, especially with his injury. His flag is a 50-50, but that is a pretty much guaranteed no starter at the moment. So 100% no-brainer, get rid of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So I hope that video helped you out just a little bit. Wildcard or not, Hopefully you've got the information you need. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. It would be really appreciated and it really helps out the channel. Otherwise, I will see you next for my team selection, which you won't want to miss because that is also a wildcard team selection. So you can get your inspiration, especially if you're on wildcard. And I will look to release that in the next day or two. So stay tuned, hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. See you next time.